So Injustice 1 seems like people liked. And now there's an Injustice 2.
Yes, and you should like this one as well. It is very good. And the one thing I said about Injustice that really kind of set it apart from other fighters is kind of this duality that you see like in a lot of superheroes. Clark Kent, Superman, Bruce Wayne, Batman. This game, it was a fighting game, first and foremost, but it also succeeded as a story game. And what I mean by that is you don't have to have a great appreciation of fighting games to like this story. Like, it was a good superhero story. It was dark. It was different. They took the DC universe, kind of tipped it upside down, made Superman the villain. It begins with the Joker nuking Metropolis, which is terrible. And Superman's like, snaps, and he's like, that's it. And he rips out the Joker's heart. That's how that game began.
And then this one tries to keep the ball rolling.
That one, yeah, well, after 5 years of comic books, which are very popular, by the way. The Injustice comics are very good. Again, it's its own continuity that lives outside of DC's other comics. But that kept that kind of ball rolling into Injustice 2. But it's not as dark. You're not having that moment of, oh my God, what's going to happen? What craziness? Is Batman going to be the bad guy now or whatever? It's very much every hero fights every hero, every villain fights every villain type of story. But it still succeeds because it is lovingly made. They put tons of effort into making each sequence really something that comic fans can really get behind, both in terms of action and fan service and just making the characters as dynamic as possible. So it's more of your just kind of epic fight than like a new kind of take on the lore. But again, I think it succeeds in just its presentation and how it's executed.
Yeah, I feel like since Mortal Kombat 9, the concept refrain is like, man, NetherRealm, they understand how to do story modes in fighting games. And like, we've done a lot of video covering Injustice 2 at this point, but those like cutscenes are really, really well done.
Yeah. Great. And they go on for like 2 to 3 minutes. Like,
the facial
take
capture
a back
in those
seat,
cutscenes
Mr.
is so
Kojima.
Yeah, NeoGaf is really obsessed with the facial capture. And of course, you see the comments of like, look alive, BioWare. Why did Mass Effect Andromeda look like? Well, it's like a 3-minute cutscene versus an 80-hour game. But all right, sure.
Yeah, it's one of those games where they get really close on the characters, like Harley Quinn. And when you watch her like yell, you're like looking at her lips, like, wow, that looks realistic. You know, like they put a lot of effort into making each character look great. And then it seamlessly transitions to fighting. Yeah, which is amazing. Obviously, the characters will kind of line up like side by side, you know, and like getting ready to fight. But then it's just the HUD appears and you're at it. It's very cool in that capacity.
It seems pretty silly from the stuff I've seen so far. It is just, how can we quickly shoehorn in these cameos? You know, we'll have Reverse Flash pop in for a second, and then he's just going to run off afterwards. Like, all right, bye, that was my turn.
Flash takes a bullet to the leg, and he's like, I can't run anymore. And then like one scene will happen. It's like, I'm ready to go. And he'll just immediately start running again.
Yeah, so the game begins this time with Brainiac attacking Krypton, destroying Krypton. Superman, as a baby, is sent off to Earth. You all know the story. Kara, Supergirl, is sent off to Earth.
Help me out, stop. So I thought I knew DC lore a little bit. Brainiac destroyed Krypton?
Well, that's what they're saying happened here.
Okay, that's not like established DC
No,
stuff.
I mean, there's many reasons. 52 Earths or infinite Earths, whatever, infinite universes, they have different takes on it. But this is what NetherRealm came up with.
Okay.
Is that Brainiac, you guys all know him, flies around in a big skull with tentacles on it.
Did he name himself Brainiac?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
no, he has a different name. I think he might have got
He introduces
Brainiac
himself
from
and
someone.
says, I am Brainiac.
Is that true?
So, yes.
That's such a stupid... okay, sorry.
But anyway, he his big plot is he thirsts for knowledge. He hungers for knowledge. So everywhere he goes, he wants to consume as much of a culture and then destroy it because he wants that knowledge to be rare. He wants to be the only one that contains it.
Like the aliens in Crystal Skull, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he'll go to Earth and he wants Supergirl. She's the last, Supergirl, Superman, the last people from Krypton. He wants them. He wants, the people of Earth, the most powerful people on Earth, and then he wants to destroy the planet. So all the heroes, villains kind of band together. But Brainiac can also take control of your mind and turn you against your own people. So you end up, again, having everyone fighting everyone. And it's fun in that capacity. And you're totally right. It's just like 1 second, two people will be talking, all of a sudden they're fighting each other.
I will say that like one thing I was pleasantly surprised by is that they don't sort of throw out the idea of Superman being the bad guy completely. Like this is one of those stories where, there's two separate sides and then they team up together to take on like a greater force. But they never sort of completely say, all right, Superman's totally cool now. Like everything's fine. Like they make sure that is a thread throughout the entire story.
Okay, that's nice that they don't completely rip that off. So it's not doing anything crazy novel as far as DC goes. It's a fun little romp through all this stuff.
Yeah,
some of the minor moments, like I really like the interactions between Black Canary and Green Arrow. Just like they're in a relationship. They're both super powered, but they sort of have these like minor quibbles and stuff. And their interactions with Harley, who's a good guy. They have some nice like writing and dialogue that make the characters stand out.
I have a really dumb question. Why is Harley always associated with hyenas? Every attack she has is like 14 hyenas running out of the bushes.
I'm not super up on the DC stuff, but yeah, that seems to be the case. I remember because they leaked the image of Harley as, here's a picture of a hyena, and everyone's like, oh, it's got to be Harley. I was like, sure, I guess.
What is this, Reiner?
She had hyenas at one point, and it's like Joker with the gun. He's used it like once or twice in the comic, but it's like, okay, it's iconic.
Or everybody knows Batman loves giant pennies. I mean, that's just natural, of course.
T-Rexes. Stuffed T-Rexes.
To your point about the fake gun, I love that Joker has an attack where he fires the gun, it's fake, and then that thing fires out and is the real attack.
In this one, I could have sworn that was in the last one too. I feel like they played off the hatred.
They do it all the time.
Yeah. Okay,
but that's one part of it. And one thing I'll say is, even if you hate fighting games, you struggle at them. If you set this game to super easy, I played like 5 matches on that. You should be able to beat this game and enjoy that story. The fighting game element, or what the core of this game is very good this time, and it's better than it was before. It's very similar, but just little tweaks to what they had before make it so much more dynamic, faster, and just the wealth of strategy that's there now really kind of ups the defensive and offensive games.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who isn't like that big of a DC fan, I do appreciate this game in terms of this is a pretty well done fighting game in that there's a nice combination of very flashy moves and just if you know what you're doing, you can combo people forever. But everyone has enough defensive options to where it's not like, older Marvel vs. Capcom games where you're stuck in a combo for, however long and there's nothing you can do. You can pop out of combos in like various ways. There's like Reiner said, there's a lot of really cool defensive options. And I think if you just want to enjoy this as a video game in the sense that, this is a game with content in it, you can play the game single player for a pretty long while without sort of having to hop online and, get destroyed because they have a thing called the multiverse, which is just like, it's an evolution of the Starlast, which they did in Injustice 1. And so what you do is after you beat story mode, you should probably play story mode first. And then you go into the multiverse and there's all these different parallel universes that are popping up and disappearing on different timers. Like one of them will be a week, one of them will be a day, one of them will be like 2 hours. And you go in there and they'll say, here's like several missions where you fight alternate world versions of, Batman and, Superman or whatever, and they'll have rewards tied to it. Like here's some nice, Batman gear if you do this very difficult mission, and here's, a bunch of loot boxes and stuff.
But back to the fighting real quick, and then we'll move on to the loot, because that's the third element of this game that's really makes it kind of click and stand out apart from the other game. The fighting, they just sped up the general speed of movement. That goes a long way to really kind of reducing that kind of laborious battle of distancing and footwork where you're just trying to line yourself up at certain points. Now it's a lot faster. You can't read that as much on the defensive end.
You have a super long dash that if you use a meter, you can basically go across the entire screen in like almost an instant if you're willing to use the meter for it.
But then evasive rolls, stuff like that. But then I think they did a really good job of reinventing each character over Injustice 1. Like a lot of times you go into a fighting game and it's like, oh, I know Ken's moves. Right. I know Ryo's moves. This game, it's like you kind of have some of those similar ones, but then they've added enough new elements. I think that's something NetherRealm doesn't get enough credit for, even in all the Mortal Kombat games, is just making each character feel new again. And they did that in a great way in this one. Like, I loved what they did with Batman this time around. Superman, not so much. I couldn't really get a feel for him, but most of the characters I thought were really well done. And some oddities too, that it's a pretty deep reach in some regards for the DC universe.
I like a lot of the more obscure characters. Like I've been playing Black Canary, but just the idea of having Swamp Thing in the game is something that's I think is really cool for a lot of more obscure.
And Dr. Fate.
Who is Atrocitus and why does he have a cat?
He is a Red Lantern.
Okay.
And so there are many lanterns in the universe. Obviously everybody knows the Green Lantern, but there's the yellow, blue, they're all over the place. The whole spectrum of the rainbow, right? Even beyond the rainbow.
Atrocitus has my favorite line. In this game, that you have a thing where you clash with an enemy, and sort of you'll bet sort of different parts of your meter, and the winner gets to deal damage or heal up. And my favorite interaction is between Atrocitus and Batman, where the whole Atrocitus' whole thing is that he's super angry and wants everyone else to be angry. So he tells Batman, your rage fuels you, and then Batman's witty counter is, it has its uses, and then and then they just fight or whatever. And it just like, you guys kind of agree on this. I don't know what the problem is.
Put down your arms, man.
Yeah, the Red Lantern is rage, by the way.
Yeah.
So
wait, so what does the Green Lantern symbolize then?
Yellow is fear. Green is that's the main one.
What does it mean?
Chlorophyll?
So
that's right.
Oh, when you become a lantern, you're then consumed by this emotion?
Yeah, basically that's what drives you. It chooses you because you kind of harness that ability. So someone that's really angry the ring will go find them, right, and choose them. Like the cat must have been pissed off and ended up getting a ring.
Wait, so the cat's a separate lantern?
Yeah. The cat's a separate lantern, and it's just like kind of a summon being.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Like Poison Ivy, her special ability is she'll summon like a plant that basically looks like a PD Piranha from Mario, and it'll just spit acid at you until you hit Ivy. And then Swamp Thing has like a number of attacks where he'll reel you in with like trees, and then he'll bounce you to another Swamp Thing that pops up on the other side of the screen and just starts attacking you. Like there's a lot of really like clever and flashy stuff in this game.
We did a video. You can check it out on the site where we just have all the finishing moves. Is that what they're called?
The super moves.
Super moves. Yeah. There we go. The flashiest moves. It's basically the equivalent of like fatalities.
They take off 50% of your health. So that's usually like, I don't know what percentage, 30% of the time a match ends that way, maybe something like that, right?
Yeah, we ranked them all in this video, and it is funny. At a certain point, after seeing so many of these so many times, just realizing it's just jokes. Like it's just like they're designing a punchline, and the more twists they can have along the way of like, oh, I didn't see that shark coming from Aquaman. All right, that one's better than the other one. It's just funny when you boil down that entire essence. Like, well, of course, a fighting game needs punchlines in its moves. There we go.
And some of them are a lot crazier than others. Like Catwoman's she grabs you with the weapon, like basically just drives you down the road and then like throws the motorcycle and it explodes. But like Batman's feels somewhat. I'm not sure what you would do with a super for Batman. Like he sort of.
Wait, are you about to call Batman's lame?
Batman super?
Yeah.
I mean, considering the idea that most of those heroes would survive that versus someone like Supergirl grabbing you and throwing you around the sun and then lasering you back onto Earth, like in terms of here's canonically how much damage this would do, a lot of them are very crazy compared to others.
Well,
like,
it's better. I mean, Bane just punches you hard. But to be fair, to Batman, he puts you in a balloon, it shoots you up into the sky, then the Batwing comes, recreates the best shot from 1989 Batman where it goes as a silhouette against the moon, then he cuts it, the balloon, the person falls back to Earth, and then he just unloads every missile and bullet he has.
Which would be cool if it wasn't being done to a superhero. You know what I'm saying?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that it's hard to come up with an incredibly powerful super. For
I agree.
Batman.
You should have like an oil-soaked rag and just put it behind Green Lantern's mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah, Batman style. That's what he says, but he doesn't.
But yeah, that's a pretty good look at like what the fighting game offers, and the production values I think are just as strong as in the story sequences. Like we're talking about these super moves look fantastic. The environments. Amazing. You can now block environmental attacks, by the way, which is another huge addition where people could kind of spam that before, just grab everything and throw them at people.
Oh, God.
But the third component is collecting, like collectible gear that you're getting. Like Suriel hinted at here, there's loot boxes that you unlock and you're getting the weirdest thing. Like I opened my first one, it was like I got Aquaman's head, Blue Beetle's arms, and Catwoman's legs. And I was like, what am I doing? And it turns out you're getting different pieces of costumes for them that have different stat bumps on them, different attributes, for like strength, defense, ability, stuff like that, that can really make your character not only look different, and significantly different. Like we're talking color swaps. I had a Green Lantern that looked like Ion. That's a deep cut for DC Comics fans. But it also enhances your performance and gives you new moves sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So you can get like you can assign 2 new moves at any given time, abilities.
And some of them take up 2 slots too. Like
that's right.
Yeah.
It's like the Mii's in Smash 4, Kyle.
Yeah.
Just to really,
it's about that, dude.
No, does it feel addicting? It seems like the entire point of loot is just to try and rope
you get so much loot of it. It almost feels like too much because you just get so many things that you're just okay. It doesn't give me plus stats or whatever. So like none of the numbers are green, so no real point to them. But some of the rare gear looks really cool and offers some really nice like special. There's set bonuses for some of that stuff too, so it's all thematic. And one of them I saw for Brainiac was that if he has all 3 pieces of this one set, whenever you're near him, he'll just drain your meter. It's very slowly, but it's this game altering stuff that is super crazy. But if you don't want to do that, you can just play ranked games where none of that stuff applies, or there's a tournament mode if you want to play it offline, and all the characters are level to 20, and everything's sort of on an even playing field.
And it's not like Overwatch where you're just getting you level up and you get one box and you're good to go for the next hour or whatever. This, you are constantly getting it. Even if you lose a match, they might throw an arm your way, or
sympathy arm,
right. Or you win a tournament and they're like, "Here's 2 loot boxes," and you're like, "Holy crap!
Yeah,
I'm gonna go open those right now." Or even if you're in, this is a new component, you can join guilds where there's no co-op, but you can be a team in this guild, earning kind of like Clash Royale or something like that, where you're earning points every day for your guild, and then you earn boxes from that or unique experience points.
Yeah.
So they're constantly showering you, like almost like Diablo, just a boss explodes, there's parts. That's like the frequency you're getting stuff in this.
And they give you the multiverse gives you a ton of objectives. Like you'll enter one multiverse and there'll be like 3 stages or something that you can complete. But within those stages, it'll say, "Oh, here are some bonus objectives. Like if you do this one stage as this character, or if you do this stage without throwing, we'll throw in another reward if you complete all 3 of these sets." And then those objectives, those missions themselves will have all these other objectives. Like if you do well enough, we'll just give you loot boxes, and also just for completing it, you'll get this bonus. And then some of the harder ones will give you sort of specific, like if you want a full set of epic Batman gear, here's this one objective that is super difficult, but if you do it, you'll have like a really nice Batman.
And you're not getting stuff like, the one downside to this is you're not getting like Batman Beyond costume, right? Like you're not building that. From what I know, you're getting like unique gear and making your own Batman. You can maybe make one that look like Batman Beyond's, but you're creating your own version of Batman. There is a separate form of currency. I can't remember the name of it. Source crystals that, hey, surprise, surprise, you can go into the store, spend real money on it.
Okay.
That is for shaders, which is not a big deal because you will unlock some of those as you play the game. Yeah. So changing your character into different colors, but also premium costumes. And I'm guessing that's where most of the movie tie-ins, comic tie-ins, The Dark Knight Returns,
Harley's
kind of
natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where that's going to reside. So you're probably going to have to pay for it through DLC anyway, but I think some of it's going to live in this area as well. Time will tell on that one, though.
But just to be clear, like none of it is sort of bonus stats. You can't sort of buy your way to the best character possible.
Okay.
Yeah, for ranked matches. Yeah. That's for sure. They even everything out. So no matter how powerful you make your character, everybody's on the same playing field for ranked.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And also, if you go into a player match and you're level 20 and someone else has like a level 3 character, they'll level up to 20, but they won't have any sort of like specific gear bonuses. So they'll be sort of matched up, but not quite.
Suriel, you're an expert when it comes to the fighting game genre.
Sure.
We haven't tapped into your knowledge enough. Normally just tell you to stop talking about Marvel vs. Capcom so much. Philosophically, high level, you look at the path of NetherRealm, even just from Injustice 1 to Injustice 2, what does the evolution say about the overall genre?
I think if you look at pretty much any other product on the market, I think the one thing that I don't think they do enough of is sort of have sort of in character specific tutorials where they say, here's how you use this character. But this is sort of a very different approach from most fighting games where the whole point is to teach you the game and then have you play online against other people. This was sort of Street Fighter. This is the thing that Street Fighter 4 lived and died on, of we want to get you playing against other people as much as possible. And for, a number of reasons, we're not going to have anything else for you to do. But, like Guilty Gear will have all these, in-depth tutorials of like, here's how this character plays. Go play against other people.
Yeah.
I think NetherRealm's sort of philosophy is just, you don't have to play against other people if you don't want to. Here's all this stuff. If you just want a game to play by yourself, here's all the stuff you can do.
Is there an audience for that?
I think that, considering how well those games sell, like Mortal Kombat X was like one of the biggest selling games of the year that came out, and how well, if you go to their YouTube channel, like all of the trailers and stuff they did are like easily doing millions of views. So it's super popular, and people, the fighting game community has latched onto this game pretty quickly. Like there are people who really want to play this game, and it'll just be another avenue for Sonic Fox to win a whole bunch of money.
Oh, perfect. It seems like, so they're focusing on single player, focusing on like, hey, you don't need to spread out. Some people might see that as insecurity about the high level play. Do you think that it stands up on a high level?
I definitely do think it does. Like you look at some of the, there's one sort of Gorilla Grodd Infinite that got discovered that I'm guessing they'll patch out eventually. But
hang on, what is Infinite?
It's just you do a jumping attack and then it cancels into this like forward kick, because usually if you do a jumping
you can
heavy
just
attack,
combo forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One quick follow up. What's a Gorilla Grodd?
A Gorilla Grodd, I think he's a Flash bad guy.
He's all throughout Justice League, I would say. Yeah, but
Neil
Flash
before Grodd.
They've got their, we've seen the film.
Yeah.
It's
He's
a
got
talking
this cool
gorilla,
city. What's the
and
city
he has
called?
Gorilla City.
Sorry, DC fans. It's cool. I love some comics. It's very fun. Very fun to tap in.
But I mean, they play very differently. Sort of from a fundamental standpoint, is that Low's attacks aren't as important. So in Street Fighter, you can start a combo by low and then go into the rest of your combo. Whereas in this, it's a lot harder to start a combo from a low attack. But overheads are a lot more common in this game. And then there's, considering the number of defensive options like we covered earlier, it is very fast, and there's just a lot of options for getting in and out of combos if you're on the defensive that I think it will end up proving pretty popular in that regard.
Is there any way you can compare it to the obvious example of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? Do you feel like one's going to have longer legs in the high-level scene for years out?
I mean, it's hard to say because if Marvel vs. Capcom isn't a good game in the long run, and it's just not, it's maybe not going to fizzle out. But I think that this specifically, I think, has the legs to keep going for a while, considering how much it's going to motivate people to keep playing. Versus Marvel vs. Capcom doesn't look like it's going to have as much for single players to do. So, but on a competitive, I definitely think there are people who are going to stick with Marvel because there are people dying for a new Marvel game. Just because it's been a long time since we've had a new one. So I think both of them will end up having good enough scenes to propel them into a while, assuming that Marvel vs. Capcom is good.
Yeah. Well, hey, we know Injustice 2 is good. What'd you give it, Reiner?
9 out of 10.
Not too shabby.
You should play that game.
Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.